Okay, at this time we will call the Middle Paxton Township Board of Supervisors meeting to order. If anybody has cell phones, we would ask that you please put them on silent so as not interrupt the meeting. We have a very busy evening and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of comments. So we ask everybody to please be professional. We'll move on with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first thing on the agenda is public comment. If you're here to comment about the Pocono Business Park, you will have time under the agenda item. This is public comment. Any other comment other than Pocono Business Park? Yes, sir.
Hi there. I'll take the podium and use the microphone. We're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, so I'm Ryan Evans. I live at Evans Acres, 1211 Clarks Valley Road.
Is this about Pocono Park?
This is about the agenda.
Okay. We will bring it up under the agenda item. I'm asking for any other comment other than Pocono Park.
So this is not about Pocono Park. This is
Not
about
at this
the
point,
agenda
no.
for tonight.
It is on the agenda later on in the agenda.
Yes.
Okay, you will have a chance then to speak.
About the Pocono Business Park.
Yes.
Yes, I'll talk about that.
Okay, not at this time.
Correct.
Okay. Oh, you have a question about the agenda?
Yes, I have a question about the agenda.
Okay.
So, the Clarks Creek Water Preservation Association had requested to be placed on the agenda. And I'm wondering why we're not on the agenda for our request.
Because everybody who wants to speak about the Pocono Business Park will come under that agenda item.
So, we will be limited to 3 minutes?
No.
Thank you.
Speak more than that.
Appreciate it.
Good question.
Any other comments other than, yes, sir?
I'm Jim Copenhaver. I don't know if you saw the Sunday paper. Perhaps you might want to all read this, because from now on, you will be informing the public about everything you do at these meetings. Legislature just unanimously passed a law that says you have to notify everything that's going to be on the public of everything that's going to be an agenda on every public meeting you have. And if you read that, you'll see that. That's what it is. And it says there, July 14th, there's going to be some kind of a web school, so you can all attend and see what's going on. And I hope you all read that piece of paper. It was in the Sunday paper.
Way to go,
All right, thank you. Anybody else have a comment? We'll move on to the approval of the minutes of the June 7th, 2021 regular business meeting. Board members, they have been circulated. Any questions or comments on the minutes?
I make a motion we accept the minutes as presented, except for there was a typo on the date the year was forgot, so I read it back.
Okay, I will second that motion with the changes of putting 2021 on there. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. So moved. Treasurer's report, Julie.
The treasurer's report is in front of you for the activities in June. Other than interest, a little bit of interest added, not a lot of things going on right now with with interest. So do want to add that the ARPA funding for the American Recovery Plan, that should be in our account, a portion of it tomorrow, 7/7/2021. I'll check to see if that will be in there on tomorrow. Also in your packet will be the Supervisor from January through the end of May. And for 2021, I also included 2020, and you can see the difference of the earned income with about a 5% from last year at this time. And if you look at the second item for the cable TV franchise, that's a little bit. But take your time and look through that when you get a chance, and if there's any questions on any of the information in your packet.
I can't hear it though.
Can you speak up?
Use the microphone.
There are a lot of people out in the lobby that can't hear.
All right, Julie's presented the treasurer's report. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as submitted.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made, seconded. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. So moved. Start on the agenda items. The Girl Scout Silver Award proposed project presentation. The ladies involved?
Good evening. I'm Tiffany Strand. I am the troop leader for Girl Scout Troop 10101 here in Dauphin. This is a group of 8th graders that all live within Middle Paxton Township. Sherry Whistler is our assistant troop leader. Brooke Whistler and Victoria Alleman are going to present to this evening. You should have a presentation in front of you.
Yes, yes, we do.
So we are the Girl Scout Troop 10101. And the members of our troop are me, Victoria Alleman, her, Brooke Whistler, McKenna Mumam, Taylor Strahan, Emma, and Elena Wolf. And our leader, Paxton. We're here tonight to complete our silver award and request approval for our community project of a music fence. Which will be something that our community can enjoy for years to come. There are pictures of it on your list. It will be used for disabled children who can't play on the playground so they can use it as a way to have fun so they're on the playground if they're disabled. Music fence will be close enough to the ground so the kids in wheelchairs can also reach it. And that's the primary focus, so that everyone can have fun and make noise and burn materials. We plan to put it on either of the X's marked on the map. These placement ideas allow for easy access for wheelchairs and so far away from the parking lot. We will get the materials that are either recycled or donated, and this will result in an inexpensive project that will benefit the community.
One other thing I would like to add is that the Girl Scouts will maintain the music fence by creating an annual event to review the wall's needs. So if it needs fixed or remodeled, we will do so on that day. Thank you. Any questions?
Board members, anybody have questions?
When will you plan on starting?
As soon as we get approval.
How long do you think it's gonna take to complete?
From when we get the materials and stuff, it could take just a couple days, maybe a week, depending on when we get the materials.
So we were planning on a few-week period to gather all the materials, and then a meeting to assemble it, and then a meeting to install it. Our deadline is September 1st.
What kind of materials are you looking for?
Recycled materials like yeah, anything that really makes noise or anything really colorful.
Anybody else from the board have any questions?
Are you gonna need assistance from the township to mount the structure?
My husband, we have, of digging is like a big factor, so we can dig the hole, and we have, folks, a contractor willing to donate the concrete to help us with the footers for the hole, so, unless the township wants to be present, we could, I think we could handle it ourselves, with the dads on the team.
Right, I don't think we have to be present, but we do have to have an area marked and
Yep.
have our engineer check it out to make sure
Absolutely.
there's no electric lines or pipes buried in
Yep.
that area.
Sure.
So if the board has no other questions, I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve this with the condition that the engineer meet with you or the Girl Scouts up there and place a marking area as to where this goes.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's been made, second. Any questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. So moved. Thank you very much, young lady. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Hagy Park Athletic Field Condition. Julie?
I'm trying to use an estimate from All Phase Landscaping to do a portion of the 140,000 square feet.
Can't hear you.
Can you speak in the microphone?
Thank you.
All Phase Landscaping submitted an estimate to correct the sports fields up at Hagy Park. Over time, they have become not conducive to soccer and playing. And at this time, the estimate is for part of the Hagy Park fields for this year, and then try to get the portion of the other half done possibly next year. But in with the estimate is the Penn State soil testing, and then the third page talks about top dressing and selecting some good topsoil that is needed to regrow the grass up in that area.
Okay, Julie. That one's the estimate is $12,846. So we have to get other estimates on that.
Yes, we may have to look at writing up a scope of work and getting a couple more estimates for that.
Then I suggest tabling this until we get other estimates and bring it back at our August meeting.
Yes. That's what we'll have to do.
Is that consensus of the board?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Julie. All right, moving on the agenda, payment request, Hine Company, final invoice for the HVAC system and 400 amp electrical service upgrade at Fishing Creek Community Building. Julie?
In front of you is the final invoice for the HVAC system and the upgrade in electrical that was installed at the Fish Creek Community Center. It now has air conditioning. It would be nice when people do rent that, that have that air conditioning for different events that people do use that for. But in front of you is the final invoice. It actually, project came about a little more than 8,000 under what the original estimate was for. So it came in under the price that we were anticipating.
Okay, do we need a motion to make the final payment? And what is the final payment? 20,000?
Yes, the final payment is $20,466.03.
I'll make a motion to approve final payment based on the Hine Company invoice 21933-2 in the amount of $20,466.03.
I'll second that.
Motion's been made, seconded by Larry. Any questions or comments from the board? Any comment I would like to make is I'd like to thank Hine Company for coming in under budget on the project. So, no other comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. So moved. Clark Valley Zion at, Church, escrow release, request number 1. Ed?
Yes, they have requested, the, first, release for the, stormwater work that they've done on the, project site. We have reviewed it and, we recommend that release at this time.
I'll make a motion that we release $96,900, in the, improvement guarantee for the, Zion, Clark Valley Zion Evangelical Congregation Church, and, with $107,308 to remain in the improvement guarantee until additional work is completed pursuant to the July 29th recommendation of White Michael.
I'll second that motion. Questions or comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. So moved. Pocono Business Park, LLC. Julie? You all right, Jim?
Yeah.
Julie, you wanna go ahead and read what they, sent us?
Pocono Business Park, sent an email, their solicitor sent an email, their attorney sent an email, requesting that any discussion, not be placed on the agenda, that they are asking that the matter be tabled.
Why, for what reason?
They did not give a reason, they do not have to give a reason, they requested that it be tabled. Anybody that would like to get up and speak now on this, Mr. Evans, I don't know where you are, but you were first, so you can jump up there. Keep in mind, we are not able to answer any questions because it has not been officially presented to us.
Is your attorney available tonight?
No, he is not.
Second meeting and he's not available. So where does it stand as far as the public
Sir,
goes?
you'll have your chance to walk up there.
A lot of good that'll do.
Sir, if you don't like it, you can leave the meeting.
I know I can.
Okay. I told you I'd give everybody a chance to speak.
Except their attorney. Your attorney, right?
It's not presented before us. What do you expect us to do?
He wasn't available for the last one.
It doesn't matter whether our attorney's here or not.
Yes, it
Pocono
does.
is not here.
You're mistaken, it does. That's incorrect. The attorney
Exactly
should be
right.
at
All right,
every
go ahead,
meeting.
Mr. Evans.
Okay, so, I'm here with Clarks Creek Water Preservation Association. We did request to be on the agenda. I'm not sure why it's not on the agenda, but I promise you, we try not to take a lot of time. So I'm a board member at large with the association. Obviously, we've submitted, that we oppose the development for industrial purposes of Lot 2 at Hickey Field. Along with us, we've collected signatures of 1,143 people, 405 of which from the 17018 zip code and 63 from Fishing Creek. On top of that, we've also collected a petition for y'all tonight. There were several points that the candidate during his time here did make that we did not have a chance to rebut because we only were granted 3 minutes individually. Thank you. So everyone here has also signed a petition that we oppose the use of industrial zoning within Hickey Field. And to be clear to
Here's the petition we brought tonight, okay? These are all the signatures that people signed at the meeting tonight. Right there, okay? And so we're going to give you that petition right there. Thank you, folks.
To be clear to everyone who heard.
Excuse me. Take that out from front of the
Take it out.
board. Take it out.
Where can we put it?
Take it out.
Take it out.
Not sitting in front of our board table.
To be clear to
Put it
everyone
in the back somewhere.
who
Would
heard.
you like the sign?
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
Not about like it, just like it.
So, to be clear for everyone who heard the beginning of the last board meeting, the planning commission meeting, clearly there's something at play here that is more than just about zoning.
Amen.
Several points brought up by the developer include the fact that there would be minimal environmental impact. However, to Clarks Creek specifically. So while the developer isn't proposing a facility that would run a Mr. Burns style pipe from a nuclear power plant straight into Clarks Creek, that's clearly not what they're talking about. But they're still proposing industrial use of a warehouse, and we don't know what would be stored there. And when we talk about the watershed, we're not talking just about the creek. We're talking about the watershed itself, so the surrounding land and wetlands that feed that watershed. So we're talking more of like a field that would feed, like if you just put a few drops of water on a sponge and let it sit. What happens? Eventually the whole sponge gets wet. So you're talking seepage into not just Clarks Creek, but into Susquehanna River where Harrisburg gets its drinking water. And because of our partnerships with several other institutions, including Susquehanna River Basin, we're here to represent and support those causes. The applicant also said that tractor trailers would be a better use of that property, and there'd be a 90% reduction in traffic in and out of that property area due to the fact that there would only be 50 tractor trailers or so doing 490 runs a day. The U.S. Comptroller in CED 79-94 indicated that your average tractor trailer, depending on weight load, makes as much damage to a road as between about 5,000 and on the upper end 9,200 cars. So you could get together, when we sent postcards out, I think we sent out about 3,000. That's like everybody in the whole town doing 3 runs a day in and out of it. I'll hand that off to you, just in case you guys look at it. Another point that I'd like to bring up is the fact that, you know, they said there'd be minimal light and air pollution from the facility. So regardless of the facility, there's no light pollution there now. There's no air pollution there now. There's no water pollution there now. It's zoned commercial industrial. We're not against all zoning, all new building. There's nine apartment buildings that they have approved for that area, which as long as the sewage is controlled, we're quite fine with it. But the industrial use does concern us. The warehouse and the trucks do concern us because the Environmental Defense Fund indicates that tractor trailers account for only 4% of vehicles on the road. So 96% reduction, right? But they create 60% of fine particulates within the air. Those fine particulates settle in waterways, they settle in land, they settle in your lungs. And that air pollution does end up somewhere. On top of that, it's estimated that tractor trailer usage contributes to 7% of total greenhouse gas effects. So you're talking about industrial use in an area that would benefit just a handful of developers over the residents you see here, over the family that you see here, and wouldn't necessarily hold true to the fact that that's not going to create an environmental impact on the local waterway, the local watershed, the local biodiversity. So those are the comments that I had for tonight. Obviously, we appreciate the Planning Commission's time. We appreciate your time. Thank you for taking us into consideration. And I hope that when this reemerges, and this will reemerge, that you remember the recommendation of the Planning Commission, and you remember the family standing here before you tonight. Paula or Brett?
I can promise you, Mr. Evans, if this does come on the agenda, you will know about it.
Thank you, sir.
We have nothing to hide.
No, clearly you don't have anything to hide. But on that point, and I'm sorry, I know I'm taking more than my allotted time. So clearly the township is meeting its bare minimum requirements in posting agenda items and posting meeting minutes. However, in meeting the bare minimum legal requirements, clearly you're failing this town. You're meeting those in the way a 59.5 rounded up to 60% is passive. This town deserves some draft minutes posted. And I'm not attacking anyone. This town deserves, this family deserves for these meetings to be live streamed. It doesn't cost much. And I think that's what everyone in this town could get behind. I was going to leave on my previous point. But if you want to continue on that point, I can.
We would.
No, I just thank you and promise you, you will be told.
Thank you, I appreciate that, sir.
Yep.
Here.
Thank you.
Paula's ankle. I think you asked to be on the agenda.
Oh,
Be careful now.
Good evening, and thank you for having us here, and I appreciate all my fellow Middle Paxton Township residents who join us here tonight.
Thank you.
My name's Paula Zankel. I'm the president of the Clarks Creek Watershed Preservation Association, and I'm proud that we can lead the fight against this rezoning effort. We really thought about this, and Ryan has spoken about some of the environmental concerns. I'm not going to review them. I will say that the amount of impermeable surface that they are planning on having, which is their 285,000 square foot warehouse, and their parking area is over 500,000 square feet. In a normal, just so you know, in a normal year, we get 42 inches of rain, and that amounts to 14 million gallons of runoff. If those between the roof and the parking lot, where are those 14 million gallons of roof and pavement and oil spills and whatever is on the ground? Where are they going? They're going to go to the creek. They're going to go to their holding ponds, maybe. If those holding ponds are sufficient, we don't know. And that is the water, like Ryan said, is all going to percolate into the ground somewhere like a sponge and end up in the river where Harrisburg does flow its drinking water. There is no benefit to the township or its residents for this rezoning initiative. There will be no jobs, no shops, and no tax revenue to our township will come for this rezoning. Neither LDI or Pocono Business Partners will pay any stormwater fees or local taxes. That 14 million gallons of runoff and that $500,000, the 14 million gallons of water, if this was in Susquehanna Township or the city of Harrisburg, they would be paying $4,000 a month in stormwater runoff fees. Their traffic studies assume that all the access is from 322 to 25 interchange, and they do not know, because they don't live here, they don't know that the traffic comes off of 81 through Tower City and comes right down Route 325. Clarks Creek Watershed Preservation Association has been vigilant in trying to work with PennDOT and Capital Region Water to make sure that we do not have accidents on that road. I live on that road, and there are fuel trucks and propane trucks and trucks carrying all manner of food merchandise in those trucks. And I live in fear that one of those trucks is going to be speeding and have an accident, and the contents of that truck is going to spill into the creek or the reservoir. Also, the comprehensive plan does not include any references to encouraging increased industrial development. I've been trying to read it and study it and see what our township has recommended for its growth plan. And there is nothing in the comprehensive plan about industrial development. This land was zoned once, agricultural, to R3 and office, and they couldn't make a go of it. So guess what? They are back, trying to make a buck off of us. They don't live here. They live in other counties. They do not experience any of the pollution or any of the downside from this effort. So because of this, I think that the Clarks Creek Watershed Preservation Association needs to vigorously oppose this effort. And we hope that when the township supervisors make a decision, that they let us know their thought process, either pro or con. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Eric Epstein, is he here?
Yep.
All right. I think you asked to be on the agenda also?
Yeah, just for future reference, it's Epstein.
Doesn't mean you're best looking now.
No, if you forget, there's three famous Jews, Einstein, Epstein, Frankenstein, I'm Epstein.
Keep that in mind. disappearing on us now, or?
That's the Frankenstein aspect of personality.
Looking for the attorney.
Yeah. I want to give you a copy. Julie, thanks for speaking with me the other day. I appreciate it. Hope you had a nice vacation. All right. I didn't get an invitation. I've been on vacation 61 years. So.
Eric, before you start, can I have an address, please?
You can, and when we get set up here, I'm old and don't move fast. Eric Epstein, 4100 Hillsdale Road in Lower Paxton Township, and I'll explain why I'm here. I'm going to try and keep to 3 minutes, but there are kind of two tranches to my comments. My comments mostly tonight have to deal with a subject that hasn't really been dealt with, and that's the security and the safety of Middle Paxton Elementary School. I'm a school district for Region, I'm the director in Region 2. I have been for the last 8 years, and my region includes Middle Paxton and Dauphin. I'm not speaking on behalf of the district, I'm speaking on behalf of myself and the experience I have as the former chairman of the Transportation Committee. It's been a tough year, by all accounts. During a normal school year, just to share with you what we're entrusted to deal with, we deal with Amber Alerts. We deal coordinating emergency response times, feeding children, maintaining safe spaces for children before, during, and after school. We have a breakfast program and a lunch program. And the reason I'm here tonight is one of my main charges, since I represent this area, is to maintain the character and quality of a neighborhood elementary school. Middle Paxton, as you know, was built in 1990. We made a substantial investment into the school. This school district has, in this school, a 16-to-1 ratio. That's phenomenal. Not many schools have 16-to-1. I like to keep it that way. The performance of the students is outstanding. Nowhere can I find anywhere that a warehouse is part of the equation when you have a neighborhood elementary school. We went through this at Chambers Hill. We have another neighborhood school at Northside, Paxtonia, throughout. We're committed to neighborhood elementary schools. I happen to believe a warehouse would disturb that character. I also want to point out a transportation issue. People have been talking about the number of trips. We transverse 2.3 million miles a year, 147 routes a day. It's a lot of kids, it's a lot of trips. We also transport, you may not be aware of this, private, parochial, and charter kids, which means some of the kids we pick up here, we have to transport in addition to our district another 10 miles. That's the law. And if they are a child that is handicapped or has some kind of challenge, we must provide a paraprofessional with them. So what I'm saying to you is we're very serious about transportation, and I'm sure you are too. Now, on a daily basis, we do pickups, we do drop-offs, we do early dismissals, we do pre-K. That means the kids in kindergarten we have to take during the middle of the school. We have to deal with hazardous weather, and we have to deal with peak traffic. And it's not something nobody's talked about. We happen to coincide with peak traffic in the afternoon and evening when we're moving children. This is significant when you're talking about 471 runs. I don't care if they're cars, tracks, whatever they are. Another issue I feel I need to bring to your attention is that it's pretty clear to me that whatever the 500 vehicles are, it's going to be a challenge. In the first week in August, and I'll share it with you, our transportation plan, it's usually about 325 pages. Those are the routes we cover every day. So 500 additional vehicles added into that mix makes it difficult, especially when we don't know when the vehicles are arriving or where they're going, and some of those vehicles don't know when they're arriving or where they're going. And some of those vehicles are going to be lost, or in transportation parlance, orphaned. Some of them are going to be desperate to get to somewhere on time and make some bad decisions. So a warehouse with almost 500 daily trips is a lot. And I got to tell you the truth, I doubt, and almost guarantee you that nobody's going to sit there and count the trips on a daily basis, and nobody's going to know what's hauled to the warehouse. I guarantee you this applicant is going to tell you they don't know what's going to be in the warehouse, because they'll take whoever comes and rents in the warehouse, which means 471 is just kind of like a guess. The other thing I wanted to point out is outdoor recess. Tomorrow is going to be an air quality action day, as most of you know. We begin school in August. We ended in June. So we have action ozone days frequently in May and June, and also more in October, August and September. If there's an ozone day, and if it's close to an ozone day, and if there's a tremendous amount of particulates emanating from these trucks, that means the kids will have to go indoors. I don't know about you, but I think kids have spent enough time indoors over the last 18 months. And I would like to say this, and you probably didn't see it, but on June 21st, we just authorized $4.2 million in expenditures for learning loss. That's a learning loss that happened to our kids over the last 18 months. So I am not in a position, nor would I support or endorse a warehouse that could jeopardize the quality of education to our kids. Let me conclude by saying this. After the Parkland shooting, we authorized $8 million in security and safety upgrades. I don't know if you've been to Middle Paxton. We put in a new vestibule. We put in new perimeter security. We have a full-time security guard there at our own expense, which is significant because the travel time for troop age is 25 minutes. And I'm going to get around to why I'm talking about that. We also have a full-time staff. We underwrite the training for our staff. We provide resources to maintain an emergency plan, a health and safety plan, and our district has access to instant messenger. Anybody who's a parent will know that you get messages from us sometimes. I get messages back from you, which not are always pleasant. I'm sorry, I can't always move your bus stop 5 feet. In the event of an accident or an incident or safety or security challenge, I'm just wondering who will pay for and provide safety and security resources. And I may be getting a little in the weeds here, but whenever we have children that are on a wayward bus, or whenever we have children that we can't reunite with their parents, we have to monitor and maintain the well-being of those kids for an indefinite period of time. It costs money. So although I know the applicant said that money was going to flow to the district, I'm rather taking a pessimistic stand on that. People who try to build a Chambers Hill warehouse are the same thing, and the same thing we're getting with Prologis. So let me just say this. I do think a warehouse, based on the experience I have, would compromise the quality of life. Meaning I think would compromise the quality of having a neighborhood school. And I think folks here really value having a neighborhood school like Middle Paxton. I gotta tell you, 16-to-1 student-teacher ratio is unbelievable and it's unique. Increased traffic congestion, present safety and security challenges. And my question is, and I'm not assigning blame to the applicant, either intentionally or by default, I think the community as well as the school district may actually pay increased taxes to satisfy and service this warehouse. So the one thing I wanted to do is there's been a lot of back and forth, and over the years I've done a lot of land use cases. And I've been told what the applicant has to submit and what they don't have to submit. And there's a third way. This is what the applicant can submit. There's a warehouse down the road in West Hanover. It's not that far below, just 1.2 million feet. This is their stormwater plan. This is their land plan. This is their soil plan. This is their post-construction stormwater plan. This is their security plan. So there's a difference in how an applicant approaches building a warehouse. These people want to build a warehouse, and I'm not saying I'm supporting it, but they made the effort. They spent the resources to provide the soil profile, the stormwater impact beforehand. My assumption is this applicant is probably telling you they don't have to, and they will not. And what I'm saying to you, that should tell you something about the character of the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Sure. Gene Still, 50 Fishing Creek Valley Road. 1550. It seems to me that the township is, for whatever reason, a target for warehousing in the past years. Fishing Creek, we've had a 60,000 foot warehouse approach in a very bad area out there, and with a huge amount of trucks out there. And now you have this warehouse coming here, 180-some thousand feet, etc., trucking, and etc. And for whatever reason, the township is a target of warehouse interests. So therefore, you know this, it's occupying tons of your time, and as citizens of the Middle Paxton, also people appreciate your service, etc. And appreciate the planning council's service because this is citizens, and you have to listen to other citizens, etc. So there's no personal animosity. However, there has to be a time when you realize, for whatever reason, that we have to raise the standard of what these warehouse people present. All right. Eric mentioned about the size of the Prologis warehouse applications compared to what we saw from this applicant at the planning stage. And so we just want you to know that, the township here, the people in the township really are going to demand a superlative effort on your half about holding these people to the fire when they come back. We're not finished in Fishing Creek Valley yet. Those people may come back with their crazy idea. These people will probably be back with their crazy idea. The people here are committed to raising the funds to hire the proper, if you will, proper attorneys who are specialized in land management to oppose it, as we did in Fishing Creek, hired them for tens of thousands of dollars. So this is going to be a massive commitment on people's part here to stop this, and people are joining together from all areas of the township, and so that's what's going on. We can't become the target. We can't become the target of all these warehouses, or else who knows? Next they'll want to be to build a warehouse down in Stony Creek, back in the game lands. But the point of the matter is that we're here. You folks are all committed, okay? I'd like everybody now who's against the warehouse to stand up. Please stand up. Okay, there it is, folks. That speaks for itself, okay? These people are not going away. We're here to help you make Middle Paxton a better township, okay? Thank you.
It's pretty much so the consensus of this board, I'm sure, that you people are all against this warehouse. We can't do anything until they do their next move. It would be absolutely stupid for this board to make a procedural error and have them take us to court, and you guys end up with a warehouse just because we have a room full of people.
For the
I
record,
think
where's
that
the
you guys
agenda?
got to, I'm talking now, sir. If you want to talk when I'm done talking, you're more than welcome. I think that the Board of Supervisors have certainly heard this group, and if anybody else, right now, sir, is your time to stand up and have your work.
Well, just for the record, where is the attorney tonight?
What's your name, sir?
David Ricosi,
And what's your address?
420 River Road.
Okay.
And that's the only question I had.
Our
For the
attorney
record,
is
can you
at
state-
Lower Paxton in one of their meetings. We set our schedule sitting at our January meeting.
Okay.
We had no clue
That's all I
that
asked
this was
you.
going
I
to
didn't ask
be
you why.
coming up.
I just said, where is he tonight?
Yep.
I think we all deserve that answer.
David, would you spell your last name, please?
Rakocy.
So anybody else would like to get up and, yes, ma'am, I'll let you sit there.
Thanks. My name is Donna DeGranchamp. I live at 1021 Hex Drive in Dawson.
Donna, would you spell your last name?
D-E.
P-E?
D is in David, E.
D-E.
Capital G. R-A-N-D. C-H-A-M-E.
Okay. G-R-A-N-D, and then what?
Champ. C-H-A-M-P. The Grand Champ.
Got it.
My question is, what exactly does it mean that they said they wanted it tabled? Does that mean they don't want us to talk about it?
No, that means that they did not come to this meeting to present it to the supervisor.
Where's the attorney?
Okay, can I ask one more
Yes,
question?
ma'am.
When are they considering this to happen?
They did not give us an answer.
Okay.
Julie read you the copy of the email that they sent to us, and that's all we have from them at this point.
Okay, so the presentation that they did thus far, there's no dates or?
No, there's no date that has been set yet. Yes, sir.
Yes, Larry Hockendonner, 2121 Clarks Valley Road. What is, from the board's view, the next step? Is this a case where they, as an applicant, would present to you whatever they're requesting or for review, or?
It is our understanding that, yes, the next step is they would come to us, and it would eventually go to a public hearing.
Okay.
And at the public hearing, everybody would have a chance, and if it would take more than one night to have the public hearing, so be it. Okay, I don't want it. They wanna hear legal challenges.
So if they come present to you, is that just them to you, or
Now,
do other people come?
the public is invited to all of our meetings.
Okay.
I just think that point is really important, and I appreciate the fact that you're being open and you're considerate of the process. Because obviously, I think most of the people here and other people that aren't, just wanna make certain that they have a guaranteed seat at the table.
Yes.
And it seems to me, from what I'm hearing, that's something you're definitely protecting and.
Anybody that knows me knows that I will give everybody their chance to have their say.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Now, this whole board that's sitting here, and nothing against, we have a great board sitting here. I am the one that was personally sued by Richard Angino, that went to court many and many a days and sat in a lot of rooms with a lot of lawyers. And when I say, we gotta make sure we do this right, so we don't end up with it, I mean every word I say.
Gotcha.
And believe me, anybody that knows me knows that I got this township at my heart.
Thank you.
I've seen some other, yes, sir.
My name's Tobias Couts. I live at 16 South Road, which is right
Yes.
there. I'm a truck driver myself. I can assure you, truck drivers are going to get lost. They're going to come up this road, they're going to try to find a place to turn around, whether it's here, then they're going to come up into your firehouse, they're going to tear this up, that blacktop will not last. They're going to make a right and go down Gloucester Boulevard. Want them going down through the town? They're going to come up through the town. They're going to go over those wonderful speed humps they put in down there. Everybody loves, I guarantee you, I can guarantee it. Some guy that's not a good driver, who only cranks his gear up halfway, is going to rip them right out of the ground. I guarantee it. They're going to run over things. Believe me, I've done it, I've seen it. I'm not the world's greatest truck driver, but I'm better than most. And
You're honest.
right now, they missed the signs that say they can't go over Peters Mountain. How many people have seen that? They turn around in front of my house here on 225 all the time.
I know we got them stuck down on Macwood, we know.
So you're gonna have this problem if you open this area up to industrial zoning. It's just gonna get worse. I've been to too many warehouses on streets in Mechanicsburg, and they hate trucks in Mechanicsburg. Their industrial park that they have has grooves as wide as this podium that you have to bounce across. It's not fun. You're adding just, I don't know how much PennDOT takes care of these roads as much as the township, but it's gonna be a giant cost to the community, and you're gonna wind up raising taxes. And I guarantee that nobody here wants that. I don't like paying taxes. I don't mind paying taxes. I think it's patriotic to pay taxes, to pay for our parks, to pay for our firehouses. We need to do it. But this is just gonna be a headache that you're not gonna want no longer. Thank you.
Your last name, please?
Kautz, K-A-U-T-Z.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Patty Smith. I'm from Susquehanna Township.
That's Patty's mom.
Your address?
4218 Kirkwood Road.
4218 Kirkwood,
Yes.
K-A-R-K-W-O-O-D. That's Harrisburg, right?
Correct, yes. Susquehanna Township. So for those of you who don't know, I'm with Rock the Capital. We fight corruption and waste on the state and local levels. And I just wanted to let you know of an interesting conversation I had with the developer after the first planning commission meeting. During that meeting, he mentioned that he gives the free money to every township that he's developed in. And I asked him during that meeting to clarify, you give this free money to every township you're developing? Yes, he said. So after the meeting, I asked him if he had a listing of all his developments on his website. He said no. And I said, may I have a copy
or a listing of all the developments you've done. And he said, why? And I said, because I want to call them to see if they received their free money. And at that point, he asked if I was press. And I said, no, I'm a government watchdog. And he said, you cannot have it. So I just want you to know and be careful of this dangling of free money to the township. He claims now that it's not a bribe. His claims he's a zero-sum developer. And that is why he's giving you the money. My response to that is, if he truly is a zero-sum developer, he not only needs to give money to the township indefinitely when you need it because of his development, he needs to give that money to the school district and the fire department, because the fire department is going to need, by mandate, a new fire truck that can service that development, that warehouse. At minimum, that's $1.5 million out of the fire company's coffer. That doesn't sound like a zero-sum developer to me. And that doesn't include having to expand the garage to fit that. So if he does come back, which I suspect he will, I would like that brought up, and he needs to include that money. The second thing is, he is stating that the township doesn't have enough percentage of CI for his development, and therefore you must rezone. The fair share doctrine states that when you do your comprehensive plan, you must have X percent of each type of development. You have done that. The fair share doctrine doesn't say that you have to have enough for everybody that comes here to make $1. You do not have to change this zoning to suit him. He has two options. He can either fit his development in what you have available, or he can go somewhere else and build. What he doesn't have is the right to sue to force you to change it. And I would just like to make sure that you realize, once you rezone this property, you cannot put that genie back in the bottle. If his development falls apart, which it could, any new developer coming behind him now has CI available to them. That could be any type of development that fits into those terms. Are you prepared for that? I was told at the Planning Commission meeting that that's a decision for later, at the planning stage. It's not. It's a decision for now, because you cannot take it back. And if you rezone it for this particular property, for this particular developer, who's to say he doesn't change his mind and sell it to somebody else who has way more traffic than 500 trips a day? You can't do anything about that at that point. So I hope that you keep that in consideration. I know they've tabled it, I find that interesting, but I do suspect they'll be back, and I hope that you would vote no, along with the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Good evening. Kevin Maycomber, 1140 Riverview. Firstly, I'm new to the community, moved here less than a year ago during the pandemic, and I am so impressed by this group of citizens here on a day that was 100 degrees. This is extraordinary. You people should be really proud of yourselves. However, I'm proud of you. I'm not too proud of the board, respectfully. There was some wonderful information here tonight from some citizens. I head up engineering for my company, and had a meeting like this occur in my company, I would have shut it down within about 2 minutes of it being started, just for what this gentleman said over here. Where's the attorney? I think that was a foolish decision. At what point did you not know the attorney was coming? Are they not on retainer? Does our language with that law firm not have language that he has a substitute here? Your fiduciary relationship for us requires you to have that attorney here. At what point will you have an attorney? When is the next meeting? And will you accept another excuse like that? And I didn't yield the floor.
You made the question.
I'm not done. I'll let you answer all in one time. I'm not
I'll
yielding
give
the
you
floor.
more answers.
So I'll let you answer all the questions at one time. I am not happy with you. How could you have such a meeting of such importance and not have somebody who's smarter than all of us, who can guide us as to the next step. Because for me, I'm walking out of here going, well, what's the next step? I'm gonna ask one question, and this is to all of you folks. Who is more concerned leaving this meeting than who came in? I think that should tell you how the people here are feeling at an emotional level. You need to get, you guys have got the plan. That, I'm sorry they couldn't make it, but that's only an excuse.
And what do you think the lawyer would have done tonight? He wouldn't sit here and answer your questions because we have no plan before us.
Yeah, well, what lawyers do, they listen, they take notes. There were 4 people here. Is a lawyer gonna listen to these tapes? Have you made arrangements for him to listen
Our
to
lawyer
tapes?
will be filled in by our township manager, no doubt.
No, I
about it.
didn't say that. Are they going to listen to tapes? Because the township manager, less than verbatim, took down some really good information here.
So the tapes that are here because of us. This township does not live stream anything for the public. They
Exactly.
learn nothing from.
So, I'm gonna yield the
Okay,
floor.
do you have anything else on this subject?
No, I think it's
Okay.
pretty clear.
Thank you.
Kevin, your last name?
I'll read it, I'll spell it to you after the fact.
No, I'd like to have it now.
Michael Alpha Charlie Oscar Michael Bravo Echo Romeo.
I'm sorry.
Just spell it regular.
MACOMBER.
B-E-R.
BER. Bravo Echo Romeo.
And the address is 1140.
Riverview.
Yes, sir.
Store Furman, 1621 Furman's Lane. Same as my last name, Furman's Lane, F-U-H-R-M-A-N.
First name.
Storm, like the weather.
Storm.
Yep.
Last name.
Furman, F-U-H-R-M-A-N.
Go ahead.
Alright, the last warehouse I saw was in Beirut, Lebanon. Leveled the whole town. So, I mean, I don't know. I've lived here, my whole life, from 6th generation. I know the Erie Canal made the town, but this will set us back. And that's it.
All right.
Address?
1621 Furman's Lane, same as my last name. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, I was just making sure you saw him.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Lisa Nider. My address is 6140 Cocker Drive, Harrisburg.
Slow down. Last name again, Lisa, was?
Nider, N-E-I-T-E-R.
And the address, please?
6140 Cocker Drive, Harrisburg.
Hocker?
Yes, H-O-C-K-E-R.
Speak up, you're working. Harrisburg. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm from the Strategic Action Team. So as Eric Epstein had said, that we have just gone through this whole thing with the warehouse situation, actually right in my backyard. And I want to say that it's pretty disappointing that the voter would put this on the agenda, know the public has as much interest in it, and then have their attorney send you an email to table it and not show up. I think actually what happened was we might have scared him at the last meeting. So, I don't want to address like what I think about this warehouse situation, but I just want to let you know that we are continuing to fight it. Our community is continuing to fight it. Our board has been backing us. It is now with the Court of Common Pleas. And we are still moving forward with our Board of Commissioners to fight this warehouse. And I just want to tell everybody that's here that I'm so proud of you for showing up today. And you need to continue showing up. It's very important that you have the community involvement. So, with that being said, I'll be back because there's really no point in saying anything else until the guest arrives at the party.
Sorry.
Deborah Knowles.
Deborah.
It's spelled N-O-L-E-S.
N-O-L-E-S, Knowles. And address, please, Sharon.
6080 Hocker Drive, Harrisburg, PA.
Thank you.
One of the things I wanna warn you about is to really not as much take the developer at his word. Because we have, the developers we've been dealing with, they said, oh, we wanna be a good neighbor. But we've been trying to, if we do end up having to have the warehouse built, we've been trying to set up where they put things in place to take care of us too. Like, when they do the blasting, we want inspections done prior to and after. Our homes, our foundations and everything, because we're so close to them. And we want walls built, but they wanna just put trees there. There's already like 25 feet of trees, and they wanna just put another 25 feet of trees or so. And that doesn't block out a lot of your noise and everything else. So, we've been trying to fight for that, and they say, they wanna be a good neighbor, but they don't wanna take care of their own truckers that are coming in. Because the access, the right access that they should have is off of 322. But they don't wanna pay for a light and any road improvements to make an extra lane for them to get in. They wanna go off Penhar, and they don't even wanna put a light there. They wanna have the trucks come in, make a right turn to get in, and a right turn to get out. Well, trucks are gonna come from the left, so you're gonna have to make a left to get in, but no, you'll have to go all the way around and things like that. So, there's just, and they don't wanna, they say that they're gonna invest in the community, but they don't wanna spend anything to do improvements for the community, road improvements or anything. We also ask them things like, how many shifts are there gonna be? Oh, we're gonna be at 24/7, so there's gonna be 3 shifts. Well, because you're so close to houses, could you cut it down to 2? No. Well, understood. But he tells us, oh, the 3rd shift, all they're gonna be doing is breaking down boxes. Well, when we ask them who's gonna be in there, oh, we don't have anyone interested yet, or that's expressed interest. So if no one's expressed interest, how can you tell us that their people are going to be breaking down boxes instead of making a lot of noise, trucks delivering and things like that? Then we asked them about hazardous material. In their proposal, they had that there was going to be a minimum of hazardous material. But yet in the meetings, they tell us to our face that, oh, there's not going to be any hazardous material.
Are you talking about this developer, or are you talking about?
I'm talking about, a little bit about our developer to tell you, look for these things, listen to him. Because you've got to look at the proposal to see what they're proposing, and then in these meetings, you've got to pay attention to what they're saying. And also, ask him if he's actually been at the site to see the land and the community. So, our developer's never even been to the site. So he knows nothing about our community, he knows nothing about the land. So please, watch out for the traps that they set, and the things that they say, because they're not always going to be honest with you. They just want to build this, okay?
Good evening. Robin Fry. I'm a resident here at 710 Cypress Drive, Dolphin. And I've lived here roughly 40 years. And what a great place to live. Had the opportunity to raise a child here, great education. Everything about this place. We don't know how lucky we are to have something like this. And during my roughly 40 years living here, I've had a chance to talk to people on vacation, when I'm out, different places. Where are you from? I'm from up above Dolphin, upstate. And they're like, oh yeah, Stony Creek, Clark Street. And they said, what a beautiful place. Well, yeah, this is a beautiful place to live. And I'm proud to be a resident here. And I in my mind don't understand why anybody would want to jeopardize what we have, because it truly is, you know, just, it's a beautiful area to live in. I don't know why anybody would be in opposition to this plan. So I ask you to take consideration of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else?
Go for it. 799 Forest Lane.
Dave,
Hi.
your last name was?
Seace, S-E-A-C-E.
C.E., thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out, and thank the supervisor for considering this. I want to point out that nothing is going to happen very fast. That's always the way it is. My dad was a supervisor back when, remember the dam that they were going to put in Stony Creek. I worked at 3 Mile Island. One day, now it was Metropolitan Edison. One day I was in there and I saw a guy with a PP&O hat on. And I said, hey, you guys are gonna build that dam up Stony Creek Valley. You didn't make out so good, did you? And you know what he said? Well, you know, we're like electricity and water. We take the path of least resistance. And he said, we're building a nuclear power plant up there at Berwick, and we're getting less resistance there than we are from the residents right here in our area. So I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and trying to put a stop to this, and for anything that the board can do legal, and I know it's gotta be legal because it's a long process.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Bob, good?
Just one quick question. Can we deny their request to table this motion tonight?
That's a good one.
That's a good question. Where's the attorney?
How many times can they table it?
I think we're
I
giving
guess
them more
that'll
time to
be
get,
a question for the attorney if they keep playing.
we're just giving them more time to build their case.
He said they have the right, and you hold your arms up, sir, and I have been in touch with our solicitor for many hours today, many hours. And so is our township manager.
I've never
So-
been in a courtroom where an attorney isn't there and it doesn't get some kind of a,
Anyhow, Bob, in answer to your question, at some point, we will have to stop if they keep playing the game. If they aren't truly playing the game, I don't know. They may have other plans. They may have decided that they don't want to proceed no farther. They're not here, so I can't answer what they have on their mind.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you guys for sitting up at this table. I don't think there's anybody in this room, including you guys sitting at the table, that want to see our community change from what it is today. There was some awesome comments made by everybody. I love this community. I built a house here 3 years ago on Hagee Lane, and I built it because of the zoning that was in place. I knew that they weren't going to come in and put a warehouse, or I wasn't going to have an industrial property right next door to me. One of the things that I wanted to bring up was this rezoning request does not meet the comprehensive plan provided for in the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code requirement that actions must be publicly supported and intended to facilitate the land use decision-making process by covering the major categories of physical development in relation to the needs of its citizens. And that's us.
That's right on point.
We don't need it, that's for sure.
Here.
It does not meet the purpose of the Middle Paxton Township zoning ordinances. It does not provide for public convenience and avoid undue congestion. And it does not provide for the harmonious and aesthetically pleasing physical development of Middle Paxton Township by providing the gradual transition between adjacent land use. The rezoning request does not meet the overall purpose of the Middle Paxton Township zoning ordinance, as it does not protect public health, safety, coordinated and practical community development. The supervisors should not let their judgment be clouded by the lure of short-term money offered by Pocono Business Park to influence the township's decision on their rezoning request, as that will be very short-lived when it comes to supporting the needs that are going to have to be met in the future. That's what I have to say. Thanks.
Bob, what's your street address there? I can't use it.
1121.
1121. Thank you, Bob.
Go ahead.
I am Kyle Kuntz. I live at 1340 LYTER Lighter Road. The property I live on actually backs right up to Clark's Creek, right under the light line. And just this past weekend, for celebrating July 4th, we were all in that creek enjoying recreation, just swimming in it, all that. With this development so near its banks, my only worry is if we will be able to continue doing that. And I've lived in Dolphinboro my entire life. Like, I'm living in the house I grew up in. And I want to be able to stay there and make sure I can raise a family there with my fiance. We're right in the back of the room, actually. And give them the same lovely environment I had growing up, so that they can benefit from it too. That's all.
Yes, sir.
My name's Michael Tuckey. I'm from the SWATER Action Team also.
Excuse me, Mike, would you spell your last name?
Tuckey.
And you're with the,
SWATER Action Team.
and address for you, Michael?
5875 Gasper Lane, GENSE,
G-E-S?
GENSEMER Lane. And that's Harrisburg, PA 17111.
Harrisburg, thank you.
Go ahead.
Okay. I understand everyone's upset about this whole proposal. I'm not for it at all myself. We went through the same situation like it was stated earlier. There is a process that you have to go through, and these gentlemen are doing that process. And I understand being upset, but you do more good up here speaking. No disrespect, but,
I get it.
okay? Our last meeting started getting out of control towards the end, and then everyone settled down. I understand what everyone feels because we felt the same thing. My concerns though, a lot of people still don't understand what's even going on with this whole project. Do you have another facility area that the community could have these meetings at? Because this isn't going to be big enough.
I'm sorry.
This room will not be big enough to hold everyone that's concerned about
That's
this
what we
project.
have right now.
You don't have another option, maybe the school auditorium or?
We might be able to.
I would suggest, just a suggestion, I'm not telling you what to do by any means, but from the turnout you had plus out there, and there's a lot of people that still don't know if this is even going on.
Yeah.
I would seriously look at doing something like that. That's one main thing I would really hope for. When we were here at the last meeting, and we saw the plans of what they wanted to do, I'm assuming the housing is already established, that's okay to be put in, correct?
Part of the housing has been established, but the
Okay.
other part has not. The only thing that's been established so far on that property is the apartments.
Okay. My big concern is with the way they have it set up, if it would be allowed to go in, which it shouldn't because of your comp plan, you have everything set up through the whole area, where we should be okay with how that's set, to where you don't have to allow us to have it. You have no legal right where you have to have it happen, from what I saw. They have traffic going in and out. If I was living there, I wouldn't want tractor trailer traffic going through the same area I'm going into my apartment if I'm there. And you're talking a ton of cars going in and out. I would believe, what, it was 200 units? roughly? 216. And just seems like once a day with them leaving their apartments and then going back home, which that isn't the case for most people. And this developer, they'll tell you whatever they want to tell you to push whatever they want through. The one gentleman that was here, he said, what, 47 tractor trailer trips a day? First off, how can you tell me without knowing who's going to be there, what kind of company it is, or anything, what kind of traffic you're going to have at all? You can't. And with that size warehouse building, you can't afford to have that warehouse there for 47 tractor trailer trips a day. Something like that's massive amounts of money every month going out from someone paying it, if it would be allowed. So, I mean, we've gone through all these situations and we're just trying to point out some things real quick. Mr. Epstein pointed out a lot, and so did, Patty Smith. And they know what they're talking about. So, I appreciate your time. Hope you have a nice evening.
Thank you. All right, anybody else?
Will the attorney be at the next meeting?
She plans on being here, yes.
Deborah, quick, just because, is there anybody from the borough here? Oh, are you on the council agents or the? So I live in, I'm sorry, Tracy Klinger, 111 Mountain Road, Township. I was a resident in the borough for 25 years, lived at 703 Allegheny Street. I was also the treasurer for Dalton Borough. I know the borough has no money. We get basically $20,000 a year, or we did, $20,000 a year in liquid fuels, which goes nowhere to do roads. So keep in mind that this decision by the township got a huge consequence on the main borough roads, which we all know as Middle Paxton residents, we probably use just as much as borough residents do, little unfair. So just, I was waiting for somebody from the borough to get up and speak, but I'll do it for them. I meant on council. Well, there's council. I'm on it. Oh, it is tonight. How soon we forget. But anyway, that's all. Just keep in mind the consequences, and they just built that nice park with the speed humps that everybody hates, but still, they built a nice park for the kids, trying to get people across the street. Last thing they need is a whole bunch of tractor trailers, and we all know they're not gonna go up to the exit and hang left. They're just gonna come straight.
And if I could expand on that, she's right, the park.
Name and address, please, sir.
Yeah, come on up here, buddy.
Doug Snyder, S-N-A-D-E-R.
I'm sorry.
Doug Snyder, S-N-A-D-E-R, 418 Erie Street. This off, so bear with me. She's right, that park's new.
Doug, your last name again, I'm sorry.
S-N-A-D-E-R.
S-N-A-D-E-R.
So before the park got redone, how many people were going there? Ever? I mean, I was going there with my dog the last 3 summers, but nowadays there's so many people going there because it looks nice. These tractor trailers, it's going to ruin that image. People are going to stop when they go there, especially when people are speeding up and down those speed bumps that everyone keeps talking about. I mean, you did so much work to make that beautiful. You're just going to throw it away. So I have. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Go up to the podium then after this gentleman, sir.
My name's William Miser, like a stingy old man, M-E-I-S-E-R. I live at 1100 Mountain Road. Just a few things. One, it's quite concerning the solicitor's not here tonight, especially knowing that this is on the agenda. I realize sometimes they're busy, but they do work for you, and if they can't be in attendance, maybe we need to look for a new one. Secondly, I heard you say some things that were concerning to me, that you were concerned about being sued, and obviously we don't want you sued, we don't want township, we don't want borough sued, township sued, anybody sued. Is it time that perhaps we redo our ordinances? I don't want to say it, make it more difficult for people, perhaps more comprehensive. And if you look at some of the supplemental packages that someone presented here earlier, I work for the Middletown Area School District. I'm the Director of Operations, so with my colleague back here, we have a lot of experience with construction, things like that. I'm quite concerned that I looked at your page and it isn't very comprehensive. I know it costs money to have those reviewed, and obviously you have other councils that you can go to and other organizations that support you that perhaps it's time to look at that, because even if you shoot these guys down or they choose not to, the next person's coming. And the person after that's coming. They've made that very clear. And so if we're not comprehensive, we're setting ourselves up for failure. No one likes to spend money, but if we want to spend money to ensure that if the township stays the way it is, or ensure that we put enough controls in so people just can't willy-nilly come here and submit and then ultimately say, people always like to go places either you heard police resistance. Perhaps we should put some more resistance in. Secondly, if I could, I looked on your agenda and there is no attachment, so I was unsure about the Hague Park athletic field conditions. Could I speak during parks about that? I am Director of Operations. I do hold one of the Keystone Athletic Field Manager Organization's field of distinction, and so some of the things I heard, it's a little scary when you let the contractors pick what they're going to put down, except having an agronomist who knows soils and will make recommendations.
You're more than welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. What was your first name, sir?
William.
William. Thank you.
Hi, Brett Zankel, B-R-E-T-T, Z as in zebra, A-N-K-E-L. I reside at 321 Clarks Valley Road. I do.
Brett, correct?
Yes.
Brett.
I do not have a comment to make, but I do have some questions to ask the board, some simple questions, and they relate to, it's my understanding procedurally that this matter, before you can make a decision on it, must go in front of the Tri-County Planning Commission for their review of the project. And to the best of my knowledge, I've been working with some of the members of the Dauphin County Planning Board, which are on the Tri-County Planning Board. It's my understanding that this matter has not been referred to them, or has it been referred in the past couple of weeks?
They are aware of it, and they will not review it unless it goes to a public hearing, correct, Julie?
Okay, so it's not been sent over to them yet?
Correct.
Thank you, that's all.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Pottiger, and I live on 700 Stony Creek Road. I have two sons, and the one gets on a van through the CIU, the preschool up in Mountain View. I don't know if you guys are aware that some kids get picked up around 7 or so from West Hanover to NOLA to come up here. With all the traffic, if there's an accident, you get special needs kids stuck on a van. And it can take an hour or two, and that would be horrible, like for them. And also, my older son went to, the van will pick him up from here, went all the way down to Carnes 122 behind the school for the pre-K program. And I drove him just in case if there was an accident, if he would be stuck on the van for hours, I would not want to put him through it. So with all the tractor trailers, and if there is accidents, is there plans to move it quicker? Because it is very busy on the highway, getting in on and off. And also, there is no red lights in this town at all. So will there be red lights more for traffic being busier? And with my kid maybe starting first grade here, middle Paxton, all the noise, and with him being autistic, would affect him. And the pollution and the environment. I mean, we moved up here over 7 years ago when I was pregnant, not knowing what my children's disabilities would be, but it would affect them. We moved up here just because it's quieter, it's a better school, better environment, and definitely not for this, but it's also thinking of all the kids with the school district that, I don't know if some are aware of the pre-K program at the CIU, that it does involve NOLA, West Hanover, and our kids who opt out of that and have to go, and the van picks them up, have to go to NOLA or elsewhere, that they would be stuck. And it's different than a regular child being stuck. And also Halifax or, Dolphin going to tech in the morning, any delays coming home, even there's an accident before the school lets out because of all more traffic of tractor trailers getting on and off. It'll be a delay of kids going home, or stuff from middle school or high school to get home.
Amanda, would you spell your last name, please?
Potteiger.
Thank you.
Good enough.
DUX, I got that. What?
Joe.
Joe, what's your address, sir?
1130 Hex, HECKS Drive.
Yep, got it.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for doing what you guys do. I sat there for a short time in the planning commission. It was like, not for me. And thank you all too. Just one thing I want to pick up on what Brett said, and how your response to it, regarding the stages of this process. And you had mentioned that if it goes to the public hearing stage, then Dauphin County Planning Commission, et cetera, would then get involved in giving their interpretation, their suggestions. They also educated myself on what the procedure is, and one of those was, if you get to the point where the planning commission turns it down, declines to recommend, and you have a large majority of support of the public, that alone is enough to say no. That you are under no obligation to give an explanation why, that's up to you, but that is all we need to accomplish at that point. It's only if you allow it to go to public hearing, which in my thought, this is the third public hearing we've had on this. We've got the planning commission and one hearing. And this is strong in terms of what our position is. We all agree, we don't want this. Now we need to make sure, always concerned about litigation, that's always an issue for all of us, but they can litigate whatever they want to do. It's up to them how far they want to pursue this thing. And also, with what Bob Good mentioned too, there are certain conditions in the comp plan and the zoning ordinance. At the beginning of both of those, they outline why this is all created. And it's created to protect us. And Bob mentioned a couple of those things. There's more in those plans, manuals, and we are going to try to get all that together and get that onto our website, or your website if you wish to put it on there, so that everyone can be a little bit more educated on what we have, what we can stand behind in terms of defending ourselves. So we'll do our best. Our website is middlepaxton.com. Yours is middlepaxtontownship.com. So between the two, we need to get the information out, because we're all in the same boat. We are all here working together. Unfortunately, you're the lightning rod for this. And we want to make sure we give you that support, knowing that we understand what we may be stepping into and what we may need to address in the future financially, and also what we may have to do to defend what we feel to be our rights as citizens of this township. Thanks.
Sam?
My name is Sam McElwee, MC, capital E-L-W-E-E. And I want to thank you guys for bringing this hearing, meetings into effect. My comment is to you people here. You all know that we don't want this, and the best way we can come against this is by word of mouth to your neighbors, to anybody that you live nearby. Let them know what is coming our way. We don't have to stand for this. We can make a big enough stink that they will go away. That's all I got to say.
All right, gentlemen, last call.
You're serving beer?
What's that? Yeah, not yet. Yes, ma'am?
Oh, I'm not.
No,
Sorry,
you're not?
I'm just grabbing the microphone.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Anybody else? Okay, if nobody else, we're going to move on with our meeting. And as I promised you guys, the key people will be notified if we hear anything as far as when they plan on coming to the meeting. Joe, Patty, Mr. Evans,
Oh.
yeah.
Thanks.
you contact you people, you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'll give everybody a few minutes. Thank you, everybody, for coming out.